Hello, this is AJMiley with Clarion Call for USA Training Institute, and I'm here to talk to you about a meeting we had last night. Several of my friends came over, and the common law grand jury idea was basically rejected by most. Different questions came up. I thought I answered most of the questions in a meaningful manner. But one of the questions that still persists is the one about authority. How do we, the people, how do we take authority? How do we exercise our authority over these elected officials, these appointed officials who are supposed to be our servants, but instead of being our servants for the most part, they usually give us lip service. They sidestep the real issue. And what we need to do with many of these elected, appointed officials, they need to be scrutinized. They need to be looked at from a point of view of honesty. How are they doing their job? Is there malfeasance of funds? Are they performing any criminal actions? Is there any fraudulent activity going on in the departments that they care for? Like just recently I was talking to a friend of mine who told me about the, we were talking about the FAFSA funding from the federal government for schools. So if you want a loan, a federal loan, you go to the federal government. And then some of the people that qualify for FAFSA also qualify for a Pell Grant. Well, what the schools have been doing, and it sounds unbelievable to me that they would actually do this, but some schools are actually telling the students that they don't qualify for the Pell Grant because they have the federal loan. And then the schools are going ahead under the table without telling the student collecting that Pell Grant anyway. And that Pell Grant doesn't need to be paid back. That's free money. Now, if this is really happening, let's just suppose we don't know it's happening for sure. This would be the job of the director that comes, that there's four of them in the county, the administrator for the common law grand jury. So let's say there was a school in your county that might be doing this, and you had a good suspicion that that they were, and you wanted it investigated. One or two of these administrators, or maybe all four, would go out and investigate what's going on. And upon their investigation, they would pick up names of people who were involved. And the people that they wanted to call before them, before the grand jury, they would ask those people questions, and hopefully the truth would come out. And perhaps the truth would come out and they could rectify the situation there. Maybe they could return the funds, get the funding to go to the students. Nobody's hurt anyway, and they just make everything right, and nobody goes to trial. That's the whole point of the grand jury. That's the whole point of the grand jury. Now, if these people don't want to be honest, let's say that they say, I'm going to stand on the Fifth Amendment. I'm not going to answer that question. Well, you know, you have to think about being in front of the grand jury is a whole lot like going before your parents. You know, if you're a kid and you're going before your parents and they're going to, ask you a question, you're not going to say, I stand on the Fifth Amendment. We need honesty and truth in that situation. So standing on the Fifth Amendment in front of the grand jury would be the same thing as withholding the truth. And so that's why I told Roger last night that the Fifth Amendment doesn't really count when you're in front of the grand jury. But see, what can happen, even if somebody takes the Fifth Amendment, okay, in front of the grand jury, it wouldn't be wise for them to do so, but let's say that they do. Let's say that I'm wrong on that part, Roger. Let's just assume that I'm wrong. I mean, just for conversation's sake, let's say that they do stand on the Fifth Amendment, okay? So, well, what's going to happen there? The common law grand jury. The grand jury is going to indict that person. And they're going to come up with a list of things that that person is guilty of because of his lack of response. And then that person is going to have to go before, like you said, a petite jury. And then that jury would decide innocence or guilt. So it's not up to the grand jury to decide innocence or guilt. They're simply bringing an indictment, which means that the court process, with the regular jury process, and with the common law grand jury, all jury nullification is going to be in place. When we have a magistrate overlooking a trial, that magistrate, unlike the judges in today's corporate trial system, that magistrate will not be able to dictate to the jury what they can decide. That's why we need the common law grand jury. And I want to apologize if I was hoping that my information would be received a little bit better than it was, a little bit more positive atmosphere than it was last night. And I wish we could have parted and said actually goodbye. I was sorry to see you walk out, Roger, but I hope that you're viewing this and that you understand where we're coming from. We're coming from a place of honesty. We're coming from a place of truth. It is absolutely impossible for the common law grand jury to become an oligarchy like it was speculated last night. What if all of these evil people become part of the grand jury? There was an assumption last night that the 25 people were permanent. The 25 people aren't permanent. Those 25 people come from the voting rolls, just like they picked the grand jury today. But the only difference is that our common law grand jury is going to be educated as to the power of the grand jury. They don't have to listen to the prosecutor. They don't have to follow the prosecutor's direction. They don't have to take rules from the judge. And if the judge or the prosecutor refuses to issue a warrant, they can indict the judge or the prosecutor. That's the power that the grand jury has. So it puts the power of our government back into the hands of the people. And everyone that was there last night, I hope you're looking at this and you see where I'm going with it, what I'm trying to bring to our freedom loving enterprise. I mean, we can call ourselves freedom fighters. I like to call us freedom lovers. We love our freedom. And I wish last night would have gone better. Maybe I didn't handle the ending very well. I was very quiet and silent. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know where to go with it after everybody had their say and just about rejected everything I said. But that doesn't mean what I said is untrue. So when it comes to the enforcement, when it comes to the enforcement of the grand jury, we're just going to have to wait and see where that ability is going to come from. And it's going to come from, we're going to need to organize the sheriff's department, let them know, but it will work. It'll work if we, the people, work at it. We're larger in numbers than they are. And if the federal government, if the corporate federal government wants to use all of its military power against we the people, there's going to be a civil war anyway. But that's what we're trying to stop. That's why we're doing this the way we're doing it. And we're establishing the common law grand jury in every state in the Union, including West Virginia.